Welcome into Behind the Line. I'm your host, Brian Bridge, and over the next few months, we will be taking a deeper dive into the athletes that are considered some of the greatest athletes in the world, some of the greatest athletes in their sport. We start today with Wayne Gretzky. Wayne Gretzky was born on January 26, 1961, in Brantford, Ontario, Canada, of Russian and Polish descent. He was the first of 5 children born to Walter and Phyllis Gretzky. His father had hoped himself to become a hockey player, but was discouraged because of his size. Gretzky received his first pair of skates when he was 3 years old and displayed an early interest in skating. He learned to skate on the Ninth River near his grandfather's farm in Canning, Ontario, Canada, and at public rinks on weekends. But it was the rink his father built for him behind the little house on Verratti Avenue in Brantford that became known as the birthplace of his skating skills. Gretzky was only 6 years old when he saw his first year in organized hockey. He scored 1 goal, the lowest yearly total of his career. Already, Gretzky had mastered a unique skating stride. His dad's advice to skate to where the puck's going to be helped him score 196 goals in 76 games at the age of 9. Gretzky's father pushed his son to succeed and told him that the years of hard work would pay off when he became a successful hockey player. As a 16-year-old in the Junior A League, Gretzky continued his high scoring and packed the arenas with fans eager to witness his skills. He wore number 99 because number 9 was still being worn by his idol, Gordie Howe. His slight build led one junior coach to suggest he pick an offensive position where he could avoid body contact. This was the beginning of Gretzky's trademark spot, behind the opponent's net. In 1975, Gretzky moved to Toronto to play for the Young Nats, where he won the league's Rookie of the Year award. 2 years later, the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds drafted him, and he again won Rookie of the Year honors. Gretzky had gone to school in Brantford and continued high school classes in Sault Ste. Marie, but left before graduating. In 1978, Gretzky turned pro with the Indianapolis Racers of the World Hockey Association. Less than 2 months later, the Edmonton Oilers of the same league purchased his contract, signing Gretzky to a 21-year contract. In the 1979-1980 season, the Edmonton Oilers were admitted to the National Hockey League. In his first year in the NHL, Gretzky scored 51 goals, 8 more than he had scored in the WHA, and he made the second All-Star team. He won his first Hart Trophy for Most Valuable Player, and he won the Lady Byng Trophy for his sportsmanship and skating ability. Taking the public by storm, Gretzky's polite charm was the perfect foil to the traditional rough-edged hockey player. He went on to become the first player to win the Hart Trophy for 8 years in a row, from the 1979 to 1980 season through the 1986-1987 season. Despite Gretzky's talents, the struggling Oilers remained at the bottom of the league. In his second year, he led the league in assists and points, made the first All-Star team, and won his second Most Valuable Player Trophy award, but the Oilers lost in the quarterfinals to the New York Islanders. During the 1981-1982 season, he continued to break records, including some of his own. He scored 50 goals in 38 games, breaking Maurice Richards' record. And on February 24, 1982, he broke Phil Esposito's single-season scoring record. But the Oilers had not yet made it past the first round of the playoffs. In the 1983-1984 season, however, the Oilers won their first Stanley Cup. The 2 subsequent seasons ended with the Oilers taking the Stanley. In the summer of 1988, Gretzky was traded to the Los Angeles Kings. He quickly turned that weak team into one of the best. Gretzky, a left-handed shooting center, developed a style that was as distinctive as it was exciting to watch. Listed in the program as 6 feet and 170 pounds, he always stayed away from fights, preferring to drift and glide around the ice. Some fans believed that he viewed the rink as a chessboard and that he had the ability to sense where the puck was going to end up, thus skating to that position. Others believed that his greatest asset was his ability to move sideways across the ice at full speed. But it was his assists that made him especially valuable to his team. In becoming the leading scorer in NHL history, he set a new record for assists, more than 1,300, in just 12 seasons. In 1989, he passed his idol Gordie Howe's all-time point record of 1,850. Such achievement brought Gretzky numerous commercial endorsements for companies as different from one another as General Mills and Nike. Consumers found his personality appealing, and he only endorsed products he used. Advertising Age magazine called him, quote, an ideal athlete to endorse products. Gretzky continued breaking records and winning awards in the 1990s. Late in the 1993-94 season, he broke another Howe record of 801 career goals, accomplishing this in 650 fewer games than Howe played. Gretzky began to get frustrated with the unsuccessful attempts of the Kings, and he wanted to be traded. Gretzky was traded to the St. Louis Blues in the 1995-96 season. Gretzky's career with the Blues was brief. He had not yet officially signed with the team when they lost the first two games in the playoff series. The coach and general manager of the Blues blamed Gretzky for the losses, but Gretzky had already decided not to sign with St. Louis. Instead, he signed with the New York Rangers for the 1996-1997 season. Gretzky retired from hockey in New York in April of 1999. He left the game after 20 years as a professional in the sport, with 61 NHL records held or shared. His number 99 jersey was permanently retired at ceremonies during Gretzky's final game with the Rangers. Gretzky was inducted into the Hockey Hall of Fame in November 1999. The crowning achievement in Gretzky's hockey career came at the Winter Olympics of 2002 as executive director of Canada's hockey team. The Canadian team beat the U.S. 5-2 in the gold medal game. It was the most watched game in the history of hockey, with 38 million homes tuned in. The final goal was scored with the sound of "O Canada," Canada's national anthem, in the background. Gretzky has been in the news since he was 10, when he scored 378 goals in a season. 20 years after his retirement in 1999, he remains Canada's most famous athlete. But Gretzky is more than a Canadian icon. His popularity while playing with the Los Angeles Kings is credited with igniting NHL expansion in unlikely hockey cities like San Jose, Anaheim, Las Vegas, Miami, Tampa Bay, and Nashville. Recently, the Beijing-based Kunlun Red Star hired Wayne Gretzky as a global ambassador to promote hockey in China. More than any other hockey player, Gretzky is an international icon. There's nobody like the Great One. But not everyone loved him. When Wayne Gretzky was 6, he was playing with 10-year-olds in his hometown of Brantford, Ontario. When he was 10, he scored 378 goals in a season. This achievement should have been a cause of celebration, but some of his teammates' parents became jealous, booing him and calling him a puck hog. The pressure was so intense, a 13-year-old Gretzky considered quitting hockey, but the next season, his parents arranged for him to move to and play in Toronto, in part to get away from the negativity of his spotlight. Not many know, but Gretzky wanted to play baseball first. At 13, Gretzky pitched for Brantford at a 1973 Pee Wee baseball tournament. In fact, the hockey legend wanted to be a baseball player first. Quote, "I would have taken baseball all day long," Gretzky told Dan Patrick in 2017, revealing his preferred position was shortstop. Quote, "I grew up such a big Tigers fan." Wayne was 17 when he signed his first pro contract with the NHL's rival league, the World Hockey Association. At the time, the NHL did not allow players under 20 to be drafted or to sign contracts. The WHA's Indianapolis Racers took advantage, and the teen scored his first pro goal against the franchise that he would lead to 4 Stanley Cups. Gretzky loved soap operas, and in November 1981, he made a guest appearance on The Young and the Restless, playing a mobster introduced as "This is Wayne" out of our Edmonton operation. In the scene, he was bantering with Melody Thomas Scott, who was playing Nikki Reed. Andy Warhol was commissioned in 1983 to paint a series of Wayne Gretzky portraits. According to Sports Illustrated, Warhol was a New York Rangers fan, but this didn't cause any friction between the artist and the Oilers superstar. Warhol told the CBC that year, quote, "He's more than a hockey player, he's an entertainer." Gretzky told people in 1982, quote, "I play best on 4 hot dogs with mustard and onions." He wasn't joking. The NHL's leading all-time scorer told Graham Bensinger in 2016, quote, "Depending on the city we were in Chicago, there'd be pizza in the building. In Quebec City, there'd be hot dogs." He added, "In those days, we didn't have power bars, energy drinks. For me, I drank Diet Coke. That was the same sort of stimulation as an energy drink." Gretzky once peed himself during a game. The 1987 Canada Cup brought together the best players from 2 international powerhouses, Canada and the Soviet Union, for a memorable 3-game championship series. Some people consider Game 2 to be the greatest hockey game ever played. Gretzky had 5 assists as Canada pulled it out in double overtime 6-5. According to Greatest Hockey Legends, an exhausted Gretzky lost control of his bodily functions in the first overtime. Quote, "Just as Gretzky realized what was going on, one of the coaches told him to get ready. He was to be going into action at the next chance. Somehow, he formed enough energy to go back out and play another shift." The Canadian government wanted to block one of Gretzky's trades. At the height of Gretzky's powers, the Edmonton Oilers traded him to the Los Angeles Kings in August of 1988. New Democratic Party House Leader Nelson Reese demanded that the federal government block the deal. Quote, "How can we allow the sale of our national symbols?" he railed. "The Edmonton Oilers without Wayne Gretzky is like apple pie without ice cream, like winter without snow, like the Wheel of Fortune without Vanna White. It's quite simply unthinkable." In 1989, Gretzky became the first hockey player to host Saturday Night Live, but he was the last to know that he was hosting SNL. Years later, Gretzky told Conan O'Brien, quote, "I was on an airplane flying from LA to Kentucky to watch the Kentucky Derby. I was reading the paper and it said, Wayne Gretzky to host Saturday Night Live. I just pulled down the paper and looked at my wife and said, no." Gretzky had turned down the invitation to host the show, but Janet Gretzky called SNL executive producer Lorne Michaels to confirm his appearance. He was happy she did. During the season 14 show, Wayne stopped by Wayne's World, of course, and showed off his comedic chops. In 1991, NBC debuted a short-lived cartoon, Pro Stars, which featured Gretzky, Michael Jordan, and Bo Jackson as superhero athlete crime fighters. The Superstar Trio also recorded live-action sequences, which ran before each episode. The series only lasted 1 season, but it's just another testament to the magnitude of Gretzky's celebrity. In the 1998-99 season, the NHL started awarding the Rocket Richard Trophy to the league's highest goal scorer. At that point in his playing career, Gretzky was a shadow of his prime. He scored just 9 goals in what would be the final season of his career. That year, the trophy's namesake, legendary Montreal Canadiens sniper Maurice the Rocket Richard, met with Gretzky, telling him, "You know, Wayne, you're never going to win this trophy, but you should have one for all the goals that you scored." Gretzky retired as the NHL's all-time leading goal scorer with 894. Had the Richard Trophy been awarded in his heyday, he would have taken it home 5 times. Gretzky wrote in his book, 99 Stories of the Game, why Richard's gift meant so much to him. Quote, "It was true that I'd never win it. The older we get, the more honest we get as players. I was so excited that he had given it to me and taken the time to give it to me, that it's the only trophy I kept." On April 15th of 1999, Gretzky officially announced his retirement. But the day before, Rangers owner James Dolan begged Gretzky to reconsider. Dolan put his money where his mouth was, offering Gretzky $1 million to take a week to think about it. Gretzky would be allowed to keep the money, no matter his final decision. Gretzky told Dolan, quote, "In good conscience, I just can't take your money, because I know I'm done." Gretzky joked to Bensinger in 2016, quote, "It was the dumbest thing I've ever done, right? But that's just how classy their organization was." Over 20 seasons, Gretzky netted 894 goals and 1,963 assists for 2,857 points. Jaromir Jagr is second all-time with 1,921 points. Gretzky is the only NHL player ever with 200 points in a season, and he did it 4 times. There's a reason why he's called the Great One. But although he was called the Great One, Muhammad Ali made sure to let him know that there was somebody greater, namely himself. Gretzky told Dan Patrick about the first time he met the greatest in 1983, laughing, quote, "He came into the locker room and said he was looking for the Great One, because I'm not the Great One. because he's the greatest of all time. That's fair enough by me and good for you. To this day, the hockey legend remains a class act. Wayne Gretzky will always be considered one of, if not unanimously, the greatest hockey player ever. However, was he one of the greatest athletes ever? That's for you to decide. Does he belong in lists with LeBron James, Michael Jordan, Muhammad Ali, and many other greats? Next episode, make sure to join us as we will take a deep dive into another one of the greatest athletes of all time. Thanks for listening to Behind the Line.